And Latoya makes a great statement. A good man is not one that just provides or one that has some good ping ping. That is not enough. And another person responded and said that a good woman is not one that has good money and has good poom poom. And that she says that it takes more than that. It takes somebody who is respectful, somebody who respects the opinion of another, of their mate, someone who can shut down their ego and be a true nurturer and a true companion. That is what helps to make a good man. Now, of course, there are going to be some variations between each individual person and each individual relationship as to what denotes a good man or a good woman, because we're all going to have different things simply because of the 80-20 rule. And it's not the 80-20 rule that you've seen in some of these movies. The 80-20 rule is the 80-20 rule that runs throughout life and society, period, in multiple avenues. So what is the 80-20 rule? The 80-20 rule is basically 20% of what a person does creates 80% of the happiness and joy within their lives and also within the lives of other people that they are surrounded by. This is what makes you into a good friend to one person, but maybe not to another person, because that 20% that you're committed to doesn't necessarily work for this person over here, but it works for that person over there. So you become good friends. In a relationship, it is the exact same thing. The 20% that I am most dedicated towards does not necessarily mean that it will give 80% of happiness to every woman. It doesn't work that way. Same thing with a woman towards every man. It just doesn't work that way. What you have to be able to do is identify what's the 20% that you need that will give you 80% of your happiness. And can this person provide that 20% that will give you your happiness in a relationship? This has nothing to do with the happiness that you already have created for yourself, and you should be happy within yourself. Like 20% of the things that you are doing right now is creating 80% of your happiness. If you're not happy with yourself, it's because you are not focused on the 20% that will give you your happiness. Now, the 80% of things that you do that gives the other 20% of your happiness, those things, usually they're not deal breakers. Usually they're not making or breaking your life. They may be slightly annoying, but that's about it. It doesn't mean you get rid of those things. It just means that you don't focus so much energy on those things. This is where the ego comes into play, to which she was speaking of. The ego of a person says that I'm a great man, I'm a great woman, and you think that you are a great man or woman to any and every woman, when the truth of the matter is you're not. You're not. 90% of the women in the world probably would not be able to deal with me. Just like 90% of the men in the world probably wouldn't be able to deal with you. And that's every woman, and that's every man. So the key to this whole thing is finding someone who's amenable to your 20% that you're willing to give, that you're willing to provide, that is easy for you. You see, I'm very affectionate. I have always been a good provider. I've had my low points, but most of the time it's up above average and more. I am nurturing to my children and my family, but yet at the same time, I'm very disciplined. I don't play games, and I don't try to read into things. I take things very literally. So I'm not the type that you can say no, but I'm supposed to think that you're supposed to say that you're really thinking yes. I'm not trying to read you. Say what you want. Otherwise, you're going to be very upset. That behavior right there, someone may say that, oh, he has an ego, or he's narcissistic, or he's demanding, or he's not understanding. I'm very understanding. I'm not demanding except for the things that I know that give me my happiness within a relationship. I know the 20% of things that give me my happiness in a relationship. And if I can't have it, I'm not going to deal with that relationship. Respect is a big thing for me. And especially at my age, if I was to start right now to try to date someone, which I'm glad that I'm not single. I know that in like, say, a blended situation where there's a small child still in the house, it's probably not something that's going to work for me because of the level of discipline that and the level of respect that I have within that household, because I would not have peace in that household. You see, I've been through the situation where I tried that on multiple occasions. And in each occasion, it didn't work because we were not on one accord as far as how the children and how the household was going to run. Some people will be offended by that and say that, oh, just because a woman has children, small children in the house, and you got to understand the blended situation, and you got to understand that you're the stepdad or whatever. No, I don't. I do not. And it's not ego. It is merely knowing what will work for me and what won't work for me. It is the honesty and the knowledge of self that allows me to say that. And if you can't deal with it, that's fine. You're not part of that 10% that would work for me. And I'm definitely not part of the 10% that will work for you. So it's a fine line when you're dealing with the ego and a person who just knows themselves. And if you are a good man or a good woman, the first thing that you have to do is know who you are. Know what you're capable of being in a relationship, and know what you're not capable of being in a relationship. Knowing that you can communicate with this type of person, but not that type of person. You can nurture this type of person, but not that type of person. And being willing to say no when no is required, instead of being in someone's life trying to change that person to fit what you desire because they look good, or they got some money, or she got some good poom poom, or he got a good ping ping. You have to be able to go beyond that into the deeper levels of the relationship, to where you know what is working for you and what's not working for you. It is not that you get rid of who you are, but just acknowledge who you really are. So when you are out here looking for a mate, or you are working in a relationship, the honesty of knowing yourself and the honesty of knowing the person that you're dealing with, and whether or not it's something that you can work through and be happy, is vital to your success. Being a good man and being a good woman is really about being honest with yourself and being honest with everyone that comes into your circle. If you can't do that, then you will never be a good man. You will never be a good woman. But what do you guys think? And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.